We love food colored green, bell peppers and long string beans, pickles, celery, cucumbers too. All these foods are good for you.
Welcome to Storytime Cooks as we learn about food through books. Today we're going to be reading President's Day. And President's Day is in February, and it's a time for us to celebrate all the people who have led our country through the years. So typically when we think about President's Day, we focus mostly on our first president, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. And we're going to talk about those in this book, but we've had lots of great presidents through the years that have led our United States of America. So today we're going to be focusing on red, white, and blue food, which is the color of our flag. Our story, though, President's Day, is written by Margaret McNamara, illustrated by Mike Gordon. Who has a birthday soon? Asked Mrs. Connor. I do, said Ayanna. Another famous person was born on that day, said Mrs. Connor. You? Asked Michael. Abraham Lincoln, said Ayanna. Ayanna knew a lot about Abraham Lincoln. He was a great president, she said. And here's a picture of Abraham Lincoln. He had a beard, and he usually wore a tall hat. What is a president? Asked Riza. All that week, the first graders learned about the presidents. The president is in charge of America, said Michael. Like the principal? Said Riza. When we get older, said Hannah, we will get to vote to choose our president. Not like the principal, said Riza. So the principal, they just get whoever they get. They don't have a choice, but when you are an adult or when you're old enough to vote, when you turn 18, you get to help make the choice as to who the president's going to be. The president lives in the White House, said Neil. And that is a really beautiful big White House, said Jamie. And Ayanna has got this hat on to make her look a little bit more like Abraham Lincoln, I think. The first president was George Washington, said Katie. He was really good at math, said Egan. And George Washington wore a wig, and that was very common then. And a wig is just like pretend hair. Some of you might have wigs to make you have really long hair or a different color hair than what you have. George Washington's hair, his wig was white. And it had these funny little rolls on the side, funny little curls. President Tyler had 15 children, said Emma. And I'll be honest, I didn't know that until I read this book about President's Day. Teddy bears were named after Teddy Roosevelt, said James. President Reagan was a movie star before he was president, said Becky. So we've had presidents that had all different kinds of jobs. One president we had more recently was Barack Obama, said Nia. Abraham Lincoln was tall and a little funny looking, said Ayanna. And there she is, dressed up looking like Abraham Lincoln in that tall black hat. Most men don't wear tall black hats like that anymore, but at that time, that was a common kind of hat to wear. Today, most men wear more like a baseball cap or a cowboy hat rather than a hat that looked like that. He was very wise, and he read lots and lots of books. He really loved to read, and he really loved to learn. He stopped Americans from fighting against one another. He thought all people were equal. And that was a really good thought, wasn't it? When I grow up, I want to be a president just like Lincoln, said Ayanna. When you grow up, I think you will, said Mrs. Connor. So her teacher had faith in her that she could be a president, and just like any of you could as well. Well, today, as we mentioned, since we're celebrating President's Day and Presidents of the United States of America, thought it would be good if we showed you our American flag and then talked about some of those red, white, and blue foods. So we have red foods, we have watermelon and peppers and tomatoes and apples, strawberries, all different kinds of red things. Blue foods are a little bit more challenging. We have some yummy blueberries, and you could use those blueberries to make lots of different things. And then we do have some white foods. Some of our foods are white on the inside, but they're not white on the outside. For example, pears. Pears might be brown or green when you look at their peeling, but if you cut the peeling off, then you have nice white pears on the inside. The same way with potatoes. They're white on the inside, but they're not on the outside. String cheese is white, mushrooms can be white, cauliflower is white. Today, we're going to be using Greek yogurt, which is white. So we have a small container of yogurt, and if you like things not so sweet, you can just get the plain yogurt. If you like it a little bit sweeter, you can get the vanilla. And if you mix the two together, it tastes really good. It's not quite so sweet, but it's got a little bit of sweetness to it. Typically, these larger containers are less expensive than these little cups, but just do your homework and do your math and figure out which might work best for you. So we're going to put some yogurt in our cup, and then we're going to add some blue and red fruits. So we have some strawberries and blueberries we're going to put in. We also have some watermelon that we can put in and some grapes. So you can make your red, white, and blue parfait however you would like it. And that's the most fun thing about cooking is you can be creative and make things the way you want them to taste. So today, and not just today, but every day, I would encourage you to have some delicious fruits and vegetables, some good calcium, and think about ways that you can make your food not only taste good, but look good and be good for you. Thanks so much for joining us for Storytime Cooks, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next week as we continue to learn about food through books.
We love food colored green, bell peppers and long string beans, pickles, celery, cucumbers too. All these foods are good for you.